I launched a project last year called Pleb, which was it was basically a narrative. The ticker is PP. The narrative was to flip the airdrop, the general airdrop process up on its head and do it the other way around. Usually airdrops are geared up so that the big guys get more and the little guys get less. We only gave it to the little guy for free, and that was something that was pretty cool and unique. I teamed up with the guys at Pulsechain, which was the first ever Pulsechain related meme coin that came to the market. Teamed up with those guys, and we came up with the concept of 9inch, which is essentially a DEX and yield farm that's going to be launching on Ethereum and Pulsechain. It's going to be very community focused and a completely decentralized yield farm, which means that any liquidity pairing can be voted in to receive some of our incentive token, which is BBC, which stands for big bonus coin, of course, nothing else. So yeah, really what we're trying to do here, we're trying to approach the meme coin market specifically, but it is a community DEX, and we want it to be fully decentralized and allow any project with the real vision, who understands how valuable being on a good yield farm can be for your project, to essentially use our 9inch token as the DAO to vote in their projects. So we think that it's going to be really, really successful because there isn't really a DEX out there which specializes in meme coins per se. There's only one DEX on Pulsechain at the moment, which is Pulsex, and that's quite a centralized exchange, to be honest. It's a centralized, decentralized exchange. And that's because Richard Hart, the founder of that, is focusing on the blue chip coins, and isn't really going to give the community a space to promote their tokens or have yield farms and things like that. So we're filling a huge gap in the market on Pulsechain, but I think we're filling a massive gap in the market on Ethereum as well, being that there isn't really a meme coin centric DEX out there. So I hope that was a decent.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Love it. Appreciate you coming in and being a part of the project. And I love interviewing people that have more than just, hey, this is my first project. They've got some background in the space. They've been doing some work and making things happen. So, since you're part of the team, why don't you give us kind of like an idea of the vision of the project? I know you kind of touched on some of the main points there in the intro, but really, like, what gave you guys the idea to go ahead and do this, and why include the elements that we're discussing?
Yeah, sure. So the reason that we wanted to do this specifically is because of gatekeeping, essentially. I've got Pleb, and the Pulsechain guys have their coin Pulsechain. We really wanted to give these two tokens a platform to shine and to attract new users. We wanted it, of course, to be Pulsex on Pulsechain, but there's basically no chance in hell that we're going to get it. Well, any token for that matter, really, unless I can think of maybe one or two tokens in the Pulsechain ecosystem that might get listed on Pulsex. But other than that, there isn't going to be anywhere to do it. And that's a security concern in itself, because you can easily get the wrong contract address and buy the wrong token, which ends up being a honeypot, and you lose all your money. So we really wanted to build the brand of our own tokens. And this idea developed from something really, really small into something incredibly large. Obviously 9inch is pretty big anyway, but it's something we want to be the number 2 DEX on Ethereum and Pulsechain. And some people might say, well, why don't you want to be the number 1 DEX? Well, historically, the second largest DEXs on chains have outperformed the largest. There's more gains there, there's more yield there. They don't necessarily get more users, but the tokens actually go up a lot more. And we just want to cement ourselves as the number 2 DEX on Ethereum and Pulsechain. And honestly, we haven't even launched yet, but I think we've already basically got a deal done with the Pulsechain side. Ethereum is going to be the slightly more tricky one, I suppose. But a lot of users to go after, so I'm super excited.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love it. I love you went with the niche with the Pulsechain thing, but then also catering to Ethereum, which allows a great starting point and then good growth. As investors here and listeners here, if you guys are newer to the crypto world, you always hear the do your own research thing, but there's no details, right? So as an investor, you've got to sort of take that accountability and do that research of, okay, like, how does this make sense in the short term? How does this make sense in the long term? And I really like the way where your head is here, starting out with something more niche, creating the only available resource besides the standard there, and then breaking into Ethereum where there are more, but there's also more traffic, like you said. So it helps to grow initially, but then provides that sustainability in the long term with the more volume that you get as the name gets established itself. Yeah, and then of course the meme element is strong. It, you know, is long. You guys got the firm grip on the meme hold. You know, I went through the website. I love it. It's hilarious. And then having the utility right out of the gate that's going to help push that along is wonderful, because we've all seen the meme coin projects that we've got utility coming. It's coming. It's coming. Okay, we're at 300 million market cap. Is there really a utility, guys, or are we just talking about a utility? And then finally, a half a wallet comes out, right? It's garbage, but we've got a utility now, right? So I love that you're coming out of the gate with the utility ready to go, with the meme there, and it's perfect. So let's talk a little bit before we dive into all of the things that you offer. Since you guys haven't launched, guys here might be excited about that. When is the launch expected?
Yeah, so right now we are in our sacrifice phase, which is sort of a clever term. Pulsechain related guys will be very familiar with it, and they probably drone at the idea of another sacrifice. But we're in our sacrifice phase, which basically means you can sacrifice tokens with no expectations of profit from the work of others. In return, you receive points, and then at the end of the sacrifice phase, those points will be converted into tokens, which will be airdropped at zero value across to those who participated out of that sacrifice set. As soon as the sacrifice is over, we're audit pending at the moment. So all we have to do is essentially gather up the sacrifice totals and just confirm that the audit is all good. But we are basically forking existing code. So there's not really anything that we've changed. So it should fly through the audit absolutely fine. But of course, we want this to be a safe and secure place, because we're expecting this thing to have hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of total value locked in the future. Also, just one thing I forgot to mention a minute ago, you were talking about the utility. So I actually think that 9inch is the highest utility meme coin on the market, because it itself is a meme coin. It's a massive aubergine, and it's called 9inch. So that's pretty funny, right? But not only is it a decentralized autonomous organization, so a DAO token, it's also a token which benefits from buy and burn. So the more volume that goes through the DEX will result in the contract buying and burning the 9inch token, which is incredibly bullish because it's not an inflationary token. It makes it completely deflationary. And this is the token that people are going to need if they want to get a farm listed on 9inch. They would need the 9inch token to vote it in and receive the BBC rewards. So just wanted to quickly drop that in there so I don't forget later, because it's really important. It's the most bullish thing it's probably the most bullish use case in crypto that I know of right now.
Yeah, no, I love it. And there's a lot of different utilities that I've been interviewing recently that they're using that. They're creating something that any platform or any project can use. And then in return, they're burning and creating deflationary for their native token. And, that's super bullish. It really does create a lot of, upward motion in the chart as things get moving. And, of course, do your own research, invest accordingly. But yeah, super, super bullish on that. So you're talking about audit on launch as well. So that's awesome as well. A lot of times, we get in at launch, we wait a couple weeks, then we get the audit, right? So having that audit available at launch, super bullish. So when I'm going through the GitHub or the Gitbook, excuse me, and I'm looking at the features, you guys have a nice full list of features. Are all of these features going to be available at launch, or are you going to be sort of tiering some of these things in as things get going?
Yeah, so before we even announced that we were going to do this project, we had a fully 100% working product, basically a finished product. All we've done is update the user interface and a few other bits and bobs. So everything you see on the Gitbook is going to be available essentially straight away from launch. The only feature that we're kind of drip feeding out, and this is for bullishness of the 9inch coin, is that in the first 4 days, you will not be able to participate in a yield farm unless you have the 9inch token. And there's a good reason that we've done this, because the yield on a yield farm in the first, well, basically the earlier you get in, the more yield you're going to make, because there's less competition for the yield. So the first 4 days, you need the 9inch token in order to farm, because there won't be any other farms available. So for the first 2 days, it's going to be 9inch LP and single-sided staking. And then after 2 days, we're going to open up the BBC versions of that as well. So you'll also be able to farm with the rewards that you've earned in the first 2 days. So there's your first 4 days, and then we're going to start opening up the other farms and single-sided staking pools as well. The reason we've done this is to protect the price of the 9-inch token. Historically, some sacrifice phases have resulted in a token coming out and then dumping immediately on launch. We actually want this to pump on launch because I don't know who people are going to buy it from. The amount of yield that you're going to earn in the first few days is going to be absolutely ludicrous. So we're really hoping that by doing this, it's going to increase the it's just going to increase the price basically. Hopefully, because no one's going to want to sell it. But yeah, quick answer to the question is everything that's listed on GitHub is already going to be rolled out. There is a few things we've got in mind for the roadmap for later, but we've actually intentionally left them out of the GitHub now because we just want people to see what we have to offer already and how amazing that already is without any additional features. There's already loads to go at on the platform.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's no small feat for all the different things that you guys are doing in one package here, and to have it all ready and available on launch is super, super bullish. I like the idea, for more than what you even said of locking it to 9-inch exclusively on the farming, because that can be used really well for marketing as far as acquiring other people, other tokens and projects that want to use that farming asset, and it just gives you that proof of work. You guys have obviously done your due diligence. You're going to have the audit on launch, and your early investors know this is going to work. But for projects that have been grinding for months and then now want to come in and use the platform to see that, okay, everything works well, this is great, we got someone who bought a bag and they're doing all this stuff and it works perfectly. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and move forward, get that farming going for our own token. And I think that's super bullish, and it really creates that, a way for you guys to show that everything's functioning well, and a way to incentivize those early investors that are trusting the work that you guys have put in and that transparency up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So let's see. And looking through here, we've hit a lot of the stuff. So do you don't have a rough timeline, in the next month? Are we looking at a launch, the next 2 weeks, anything like that?
So the sacrifice phase is running for another 11 days.
Okay.
So if anyone is interested in getting in on that, the rate is getting worse every day up until the final day. So earlier is better. I would recommend going and having a look at that and seeing if it's something you want to participate in now rather than later. Yeah, once the sacrifice phase is over, it's going to be probably, I don't want to put an exact time on it, but it's going to be pretty soon after. I would hope within a month of today for sure. Okay. That it should be done. But just depends on the audit. If anything comes back that needs changing, then we're going to prioritize.
Will this be stealth launched, or will it be announced the launch time?
That's a good question. We're not entirely sure what we want to do with that, because when we launch, we have to airdrop everything first before there's a value or a liquidity pool available. So doing a stealth launch might be the best way to go about it, because it's mainly for tax purposes. For example, people who live in the USA, if you get airdrop something at zero value, then it might not be a taxable event. Whereas if there is a liquidity pool already set up by the time that you receive the tokens, then that might be a taxable event. And I'm not a tax advisor. Do your own research on all of that, because it's different in every part of the world. But it seems like that's something that's quite beneficial when people get stuff for free rather than something that has a value, or something that has no value rather than something that has a value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's tough. And there are lots of services, I know, and not to rep a service here, but I use Coinly myself, and I have a CPA, and, it really, there is a lot of ins and outs and intricacies. I'm in the US, and, even the program I use doesn't understand half the transactions, and you got to go in and explain to it what's going on, because everything is so new here. So definitely cool that y'all are taking those things into consideration. And of course, guys, do your own research on taxes in your area, act accordingly, do what's right for you. We don't make any recommendations there, just like we don't recommend anybody purchase coins, but do your own research and act accordingly. So I'm actually a little I don't really understand or know about this sacrifice phase thing, and I'm guessing some of the other listeners in the room might not as well. So with the launch being more than 2 to 3 weeks out, possibly, why don't we talk little bit about what that sacrifice phase looks like, because if someone in the room is just super hype and ready to hop on the 9-inch train, I want to give them the power to go ahead and do that and not feel like there is another thing they have to learn. So, hey, it's not worth my time,
Sure. So a sacrifice is quite an easy concept, actually. So on the website, if you go to 9inch.io, there's a big button at the top that says sacrifice. When you click on that, it gives you all the kind of terms and conditions of everything, all the approved tokens that we accept, that will be credited. All you have to do is send your tokens as a sacrifice, because you've got to bear in mind the words here, right? Sacrifice means you must not expect anything in return. So it's just to get around certain legislations and things like that. So it's not a pre-sale. You're not buying anything. You're sacrificing, and then in return you get points. So it's just, you got to think about it from like, what will 3-letter agencies want to see and what won't?
I see. Yeah. That makes sense. Totally. So,
yeah.
And for anybody here that's interested in that a little more, sorry to cut you off here, but I wanted to emphasize it. Up in the bulletin board, I just pinned the tweet for the sacrifice phase being live now. So, head over there. You can click on that link. At a bare minimum, please, from the bottom of my heart, click over there and just give them a follow over there at 9inch to support what they're working on. But yeah, go ahead and continue, my guy. I didn't mean to interrupt on you.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, there's an address on there. You can copy and paste that and basically just send one of the approved tokens. So it's mostly stable coins, EVM chain coins, so like Ethereum, BNB, and Pulsechain that we accept. There is also a referral system in place, so you can get a referral link off someone else or create your own referral link. You need a minimum of $100 to create a link. And if you use one, you will receive a 10% bonus on your sacrifice points. If you create one and someone else uses it, they receive a 10% bonus, and then you receive a 10% bonus of what they put in. So you could put $100 in, someone comes along, uses your link, and puts $1,000 in. You've just made $100. So you've just doubled your sacrifice points, essentially. But if you can't be bothered with all of that, you can just send tokens to that sacrifice address directly. And then you will receive points for your sacrifice, and you'll be on a list of very, very cool people who support thick liquidity and want 9 inches.
Yeah, they got a firm grip on 9 inches.
Man, I'm all pumped out.
Love it.
You might get some BBC later.
Okay, so just to revisit that, make sure that everyone here understands. So to get the referral link, to make that active and be able to share a link, you have to do at least $100 sacrifice. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So in order to get a referral link, you would have to go to the website, connect your wallet, and then it's not asking for any permissions. It's just seeing that you've connected a wallet. As soon as that wallet has sacrificed $100 or more, a link will come up below, a little bit further down the page. It will just auto refresh, or maybe you have to refresh it, but the link will come up, and you can just share that link around with your buddies. And if any of them sacrifice, then you will get 10% bonus of whatever they sacrifice. Our top referral guy, he's had like 500 referrals, right? He's made something in the region of like a $300,000 sacrifice for himself as a result of these links, people just using his links. So there's a lot of potential there. The guy himself sacrificed about $1,500, and in return, he's got over $300,000 worth of sacrifice points. So it can be done, man. Like I see a lot of guys on there have made a lot more money than they put in themselves. I used a similar referral system for a different sacrifice for a different token about a year ago, and I put in, I think, $120, and I got $1,500 just by shilling the link to like 5 people. So it's a good little way to make money, actually. Make points, which may or may not be worth anything later, should I say.
Yeah. No, it's a great system, and it incentivizes that work to be put in. And there's opportunities like this all over the crypto world if you are willing to put in that work, make it happen. And yeah, I really like that. I think it's a cool system. And wow, someone's already got 300,000 worth of sacrifice there. So that's huge. And you guys, he's said, and correct me if I'm wrong, 11 days left. So that's a lot of opportunity still. Even if you're here now and you're like, hey, well, man, someone's already been racking up the points. Like, man, maybe I'm a little too late to the party. 11 days is a significant amount of time, especially in the crypto world, right? That's 3 months, right? 11 days is 3 months in crypto. So plenty of time still to get on it, get in there, throw your $100 sacrifice in, get that referral link, and start shilling that thing out there. And like I said, 11 days left, lots of opportunity there if that's something that you're interested in doing. So guys,
you know, I'm looking just quickly as well. Sorry to cut you off. I'm looking at the people who are listening right now, and I don't recognize many of these guys. So I have a feeling a lot of you are from outside of our ecosystem. So yeah, pretty much. I think people who know about us from within, they might well have already sacrificed, but you guys have got a whole different audience that you can go after that is completely untouched. And when they figure out the tokenomics and how bullish this project is, they're probably going to want to chuck a bit of money in. So you can make money out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if someone overtook that position. You know, someone in this room right now could maybe do it. So, but yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So, you know, the only other question I really have, besides the usual ones like, you know, where are you guys located, stuff like that. So the BBC token, right? Now, I've been in crypto for a couple of years. It's super common that the reward token is super unstable, right? People get the token. It's just like everyone holds until the first person sells, and then it's just a madhouse of everybody selling that reward token. So do you guys have anything in place there, or do you want to talk about BBC token and what you know, what you guys are planning to do with that to prevent that sort of occurrence?
Yeah, sure. So, so we have put a lot of thought into this. We're actually going to be following a similar methodology that PancakeSwap uses with the Cake token. So the reason that the Cake token is actually up and to the right, even though it inflates by up to 1% every single day, which is just crazy when you think about it. The reason it goes up and to the right is because the Cake token is the one that produces the highest rewards or the most rewards available on the platform. So what a lot of guys will do is they'll look through the yield farm and they'll see, you know, oh, this one's on 100% APY, this one's 50, this one's 200. Oh my God, this one's got 3,000% APY or something ludicrous like this. And they see that there's a time lock. So actually what's going to happen is you will earn the BBC token in your liquidity farming. You can then take the BBC token over to the single-sided staking pools. And this has a lockup feature. So anyone who's familiar with something like, say, Hex, where you buy it and then you lock it up for a period of time, that essentially takes it off the market. And I think that's probably the most bullish thing that we can, certainly at this stage, what we're planning to do is just make sure that the BBC token rewards are really, really good if people lock it up and take it off the market. And then what you're going to get is a lot of random people who don't know anything about the protocol are going to come in, see that the BBC token is the highest yielding token, buy that token, then lock it up. So people buy, lock up, buy, lock up. And by removing it all from the market, essentially for up to a year, it's pretty bullish for price, man. It's pretty bullish. So yes, you're absolutely right. It will be volatile as hell. But with those incentives in place, I think a lot of people are just going to lock it up and seek to accumulate more and more of the BBC tokens over time. There are a couple of other things that we're kind of keeping under wraps at the moment. We don't want to announce anything about that just yet. But there are going to be things in the way of, say, burn events. Where people burn the BBC token and in return they might get something cool. But at the moment, nothing confirmed. But we actually don't need any of that. If we just follow the PancakeSwap methodology, I think we'll do pretty well on it. PancakeSwap, I think, went up about 40x in the last bull run. And that's crazy for something that inflates as greatly as PancakeSwap does.
Yeah, no. I love it. I love that you guys, you know, two things here, right? The first thing is, you know, the locks. That's a great idea. It works really well. Like you said, people see they can get that 3,000%. Then they can see they can lock it up. And it's just like, oh man, let's go for it. These guys are working. I can lock it up. Maybe I want to sell 20% of my BBC or hold it and not lock it up in case I want to go ahead and shave some profits there. But I want to go ahead and lock up the rest. And like you said, that really lends itself to preventing that big rewards token dip or dump whenever a large holder sells, because people are gaining from holding and from locking up the supply. And then the other part of that is, right, this is one of those questions that's deeper down the line, right? It's not something that's happening right now. As you launch, the BBC token will happen. Not all teams would consider this out of the gate. So the fact that you have a well thought out answer, it's something you guys have considered. It just goes to, further build the confidence of the investors here to know that, okay, not only do they got the utilities out the gate, do they have everything running and it's going to work well? Have they forethought the farming and keeping it unique to start? On top of that, they figured out how to make the reward token more stable as those people are getting those rewards, as investors are locking those things up. So yeah, I love the depth of the thought here and the whole game plan. And man, I mean, I love it. So, Hexy, any closing statements? Call to action, stuff like that. Maybe that's something that we missed that you wanted to cover. But man, I love it. I well thought out, and you definitely well spoken about the work that you guys have been putting in. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on and everything. I really appreciate it. Obviously, you've got a completely different crowd to the one that we're normally dealing with. So it's awesome that we can spread the message, far and wide. I guess like the main thing that I wanted to just touch on quickly is just the sheer amount of protocols and token founders who've been in touch with us about how do they get listed and how interested the communities of these tokens have been into how can they get decent yield for their projects. That's just a testament to how, first of all, how sticky the brand is, but secondly, how good of an idea it is to have a community-based yield farm, which is completely decentralized, because it's something that any LP position can get rated in. So it is going to be a really good platform for any token founder to get on, or any token community to get on, and basically bring more attention to their projects. If they've got good yield available, random people who don't even know what the project is or any of the tokenomics or anything like that are going to buy that token so they can get the BBC rewards. It's just that simple. It's just more eyes. We want to be a handshakes all round type of protocol. Like, we're not competing with anyone. We actually want to bring communities together. And, I would estimate probably 40 to 50 different projects have been in touch with just me alone, let alone the other guys on the team and directly to the 9inch Twitter account. It's crazy bullish. Like, I've launched my own project in the past and we met a lot of, resistance and backlash. We've not had any of that with this at all. We've just had a clean sale all the way through because people understand that this is a tool to bring more eyes to your project, and we're not doing it for any malicious reasons or anything. We actually want to help the community, certainly on Pulsechain, but we understand that there's a huge gap on Ethereum for something like this as well. And we're not even rolling out potentially launching on other chains in the future as well. So wherever there is a need for a meme coin DEX that's decentralized and the communities can vote for their yield farms, chances are we'll probably be there. So again, I would just recommend everyone use the testnet and join the Telegram t.me/DEX9inch. Thank you very much for giving us a chance to speak.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And like you said, the more people that are interested, the more interest, the more partnerships, the more volume, the more burn. And it's just going to and utilizing that deflationary aspects that you guys have built into the whole package. And investors here, if you haven't done so, head over there. At a bare minimum, hit that Twitter up with a follow. But hey, from what I'm hearing, you'd be foolish not to hop in the Telegram. Of course, do some more research of your own. And if you're feeling bullish, now's the time to hop in and take advantage of that referral link and your network. Like you said, you put in that 100, one of your friends or your boys in your network throws in 1,000. You've now 2x'd your 100. So it's really great. You're gonna make good advantage of that. Take good advantage of that, and just a solid package. So head over there, tell them that you're excited about what they're working on, and just do your own research and get involved. So thank you for your time, Hexy, and hey, have your boys in 9inch stick around. We've got another great project here today, and I appreciate your time, my man.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Cheers.
Absolutely.